So with Dhalia now making noise in the clubs with the high-end customers, we're about to see Tommy rolling this out to the streets with a version of Dhalia that brings the same high, but something that costs far less to make, and something that will now rival the coke and heroin on the streets, meaning that they will be able to expand quicker and faster. And once he does this, the demand is going to be sky high, because he's already talking about getting another coke to Lilliana, and we all know Lilliana can coke, so is he talking about her or someone else? Because she definitely is proven to be an all-rounder who's capable of doing a lot more than just cooking. But with Walter Flynn already suspicious that Claude is up to something, once Dhalia hits the streets, he's going to realize that Claude is the one who's behind the new designer drug, and he's going to do everything he can to take it away from her. But to what extent is he willing to go? And he really does need to be careful, because not only does he have 2 rebel kids, he's sick, and now the Serbs are back, and you can bet they will want blood. And finally, what secret has Tommy found out now? Because this look definitely seems he's found out something. But as usual, we're gonna run through all things episode 8 in this trailer breakdown. But let's start with Tommy making his moves with the new Dhalia alternative and selling to Soto, who was one of Rojas' regular buyers that he sent to his locker drops, and Tommy selling these at 55k a brick. But this raises questions about quality, but Tommy tells her that he doesn't move trash, and we all know this from Power. But again, Tommy's having to prove himself at every single turn with new players. But as we watch them push Dhalia out in the clubs, we're now going to watch him get Dhalia out on the streets, and that's because Dr. Williams was able to find the right formula, and now the demand is going to be even higher, because we all know the high that comes with Dhalia, and if they're going to be pricing this around the same as the regular coke and heroin that you get on the streets, then it's about to become the #1 drug, because they found a cheaper way to make it, meaning they're going to expand even quicker. But when demand increases, this is where they're going to start to need to expand some of the areas of their business, not just with their couriers, stash houses, and protection, but they're going to need another coke to keep up with the demand. Now we all know Tommy trusts Lilliana when it comes to product, for example when he mentioned this.
No, what we got with Dhalia is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of drug. The kind that Lilliana wasn't bullshitting on when she said it was going to change everything.
So she knows a way around the product, how to cook, and she's also been learning and watching Dr. Williams' methods. And also, Dr. Williams may be a good cook and a scientist, and she may know a way around Dhalia, but she's not a drug dealer, and Lilliana even mentioned she knows way too much, so eventually she may have to be taken care of. So it only makes sense that Lilliana is the new cook that Tommy is talking about, but she's proven that she's more than just a cook, because we've seen her doing things from everything from being a cook to killing a Serb, holding it down from Tommy, and more recently, we saw her throwing it back to being a courier again, but with a slight twist and a different version of couriers, which was showing these girls how they were going to sell Dhalia at the clubs. But also, as episode 7 showed us, she's Tommy's voice of reason, and someone who he trusts and can confide in, so it really depends what role he wants Lilliana playing. But we can't forget, Tommy's been recruiting very carefully for his organization. Bobito was one of them, and I'm sure D-Mac will be another. And after Marshall snaked him on their move, I think he'll find out very soon that he's his nephew, and who knows if 2-Bit will show up to add some more numbers while Tommy expands. But highly doubt Tommy wants anybody else near this exclusive drug, because the less people that know about this creation of it, the better. And that information is only known by Tommy, Claudia, Dr. Williams, and Lilliana. And we saw Tommy keeping it a secret from Diamond, even though he still respects him. Business is business, and Tommy being kicked out of the deal that he bought to Diamond and Vic Flynn probably pissed him off, but definitely did him a favor. But what impact will Dhalia have on the CBI once it starts hitting the streets? Because if it does rival the normal drugs that you find on the streets in terms of price, where you get a better high, then Diamond and the CBI having the Serbs pipeline or not, they will definitely lose customers. But that's Tommy's plan. He wants every single crew and drug dealer in Chicago working for him and coming to him for product, and that's when he'll be running shit. Of course, it's easier said than done, but Tommy's showing the side that we never really saw in Power, and that's them creating an organization from scratch, and that's what was meant by outrunning a ghost. Now when we were introduced to Tommy and Ghost, they had a pipeline and business set. They'd already been working for Felipe Lobos for 6 months, but now we start to see how this drug organization is built from scratch, the bodies that drop along the way, the business partners that he has to go through till he eventually finds the right ones, and the beef that comes along with it, because in this game, you are always going to create enemies, and sometimes create enemies within your own family, similar to how Vic warned Walter in episode 7. Now Claudia's going to tell Tommy that Walter Flynn will do everything that he can to take this away from her, but she needs to protect what's hers, because she created this opportunity and made this happen, not Walter Flynn. And ironically, she gave Walter a chance by telling him that he needs to look at alternatives, but the fact that he kept shutting her down pushed her into making her own move, but it doesn't stop Walter Flynn threatening to crush what she's built. So having said that, there's been a lot of plays that have been questioned in Force, and whether the writers are throwing us curveballs, and I'm gonna run through a few examples. Now in episode 1, Jannard said Walter would pin the Yardies' body that was dropped by Tommy on the CBI, because we've learned that he's done so in the past, and we learned about their history in episode 3, where he told us that Uncle Paulie's wife caught a face full of glass, but where Walter Flynn threw the blame on the CBI. Many questioned whether it could have even been Walter Flynn who was covering his tracks and using an easy scapegoat in the CBI. Now in episode 6, there was also a drive-by shootout which raised questions whether it was the Serbs or in fact Walter Flynn who was using this as a tactic to scare Gloria off. So it is fair to say Walter Flynn likes control, and it seems like he'll do anything to keep a stranglehold on his organization. So with him threatening to crush what Claudia is doing, to what extent is he willing to go to? Now we also don't know what happens when this drug is stepped on, especially the cheaper version of Dhalia, and Diamond even said bodies could drop on the streets because of this new drug. So could Uncle Paulie's son Andre die from this drug, because we all know he's a junkie? And then could this give him the fire and ammo to go to Detective Vargas and Kayla to snitch on the Flynn organization? And we've also seen Uncle Paulie question a lot of decisions from Walter Flynn. But we do have to say, Paulie's been nothing but loyal, so I do think he's gonna have to take something major, like his son Andre being killed by this drug, for him to turn. But even though Walter doesn't have much faith in Claudia, I think he's gonna have no choice but to put a gun in her hand, because the Serbs are back, and they're not here to talk. So far in Force, we've seen countless of Serbs being killed, as well as the original Serbs that were killed in power with Jason Mičić and Milan. But to take on the Serbs, I think they're gonna need strength in numbers, and they may need to come together, because Uncle Paulie even said they're not as strong as they once used to be, and Walter Flynn will have to drop his ego and possibly come together with Tommy and the CBI. So with the beef with the Serbs about to pick up, we're gonna see Tommy telling Vic that him and Gloria need to go, but not before they get stopped in the trailer. But we all know how Power love to manipulate these trailers, but regardless, they will still be on the hit list for the Serbs for the bodies that they recently dropped that Vic Flynn was involved in. But elsewhere, is this the moment Tommy finds out about D-Mac being his nephew? Because they've been building and building this, and with D-Mac now being pushed out with Marshall, it only makes sense that he sides with Tommy. But what else is going to be revealed while he's at Miriam Egan's house with JP? Because we saw JP pushing him on trying to get in contact with Kate, because he wants to hear some answers from her, not just Tommy's side. And is there any more of them? Which is one of the questions that they asked each other in episode 1, which really could become a significant question that only Kate Egan can answer. So will Kate return before the season finishes? For example, if Miriam Egan dies at her funeral, because she's not so well. So drop all your thoughts down below and let me know your predictions for episode 8, because it is going to be a big one after a build-up episode. So drop all your thoughts down below, and of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 4 Force and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.